I recently got hooked on a new Chinese reality TV show called Let's Farm. If you haven't watched it, let me give you a brief overview. The show features a group of young actors and idol singers, aged 19 to 26, who temporarily put their entertainment careers aside to become farmers. Yes, you heard it right. These young people, whom we often see on TV wearing glamorous outfits and singing energetic songs, are now wearing straw hats and wielding hoes, working hard for food security. This scene reminds me of the Cultural Revolution era, as if history is repeating itself right before our eyes. It's like our beloved President Xi Jinping has decided to reenact the "new down to the countryside" movement, and send young people to rural areas. Have you seen their posters? The ones where they proudly hold farming tools or confidently raise their thumbs up. When I saw that poster, it reminded me of a message. I want you for US Army. Oops, I mean China needs you to farm. Yes, you know, agriculture, something that the youth in the cities, who only see greenery on their phone screens, have been missing out on while enjoying urban life. It's like an advertisement showcasing the young people's enthusiasm for farming. Looking at them raising farming tools high, I really feel the urge to go and farm. I even started to question why I went to university in the first place. Couldn't I have just become a farmer directly? But then I thought about open-air toilets, and that idea quickly faded away. Even in the city, I find toilet seats cold. Now you want me to go to the countryside and use those open-air toilets that make people hesitant to enter? I can accept everything else, but not this. I can't do it. Moreover, think about it. We are all working so hard to promote a smart lifestyle: unmanned cars, unmanned supermarkets, unmanned restaurants, even unmanned aircraft. And now you want me to use an unmanned toilet that isn't cleaned by anyone? But this show is not just about young people farming, it's about food security. Yes, you heard it right, food security. As the farmers are getting older, they say we need younger people to take up farming. I've always wondered if they ever considered what would happen if these inexperienced farmers accidentally planted the seeds the wrong way. That wouldn't just be a food security issue, it would be a full-blown food crisis. Haha. Of course, they don't just throw these young people into the fields. They also teach them how to operate agricultural machinery and use agricultural technology. Yes, you heard it right, technology. I can almost see the future of farming, with a farmer tending to his crops while playing his new Billboard hits, and another farmer making TikTok videos on a drone. President Xi Jinping says that by living in rural areas, we can become truly strong individuals. I guess it's because, you know, the terrifying open-air toilets and the environment filled with animal excrement make you realize that life can actually be worse. Recently, some people have been saying that Xi Jinping might be trying to revive the down to the countryside movement. What I want to say is, if you want to revive something, I have more suggestions. How about rock music, vintage fashion, or even magic tricks? But down to the countryside? I don't know, maybe for President Xi Jinping, it's like a nostalgic look back at the Mao Zedong era. But let me tell you, for us young people in the cities, it feels more like a horror movie trailer. Anyway, my friends, if someone tells you that the countryside needs you, if someone tells you that going to the countryside will make you stronger, if someone tells you that going to the countryside will solve the unemployment problem, remember, maybe you're just listening to a bigger joke. Do you know about the recent trend on Chinese social media called white people's food? Don't get it wrong, it's not food exclusively for white people, but a satire of the careless way white people, especially Americans, British, and Scandinavians, eat. It's about eating food that requires minimal effort, not even bothering to cook it properly. Like a low-calorie, weight-loss-focused, won't-starve-you lunch that consists of 2 carrots, a few leaves of vegetables, or maybe a few slices of ham, perfect. Even BuzzFeed, the most famous American streaming website, was shocked by it and published an article saying that it's not just about food, but a lifestyle revolution. It's like taking your foreign friend to eat hot pot, and while you're enthusiastically cooking your food, they casually bring out their cold plate and tell you that's their hot pot. Would you want to give them a pot of hot water and tell them that's the definition of hot pot? Then you see them eating those 2 carrots, a few leaves of vegetables, and they even show a slightly satisfied expression. Would you think that person has some hidden talent? Like they can transform into a rabbit at any moment, or maybe they're imitating Snow White, hoping that the vitamins in the carrots will make their skin fair and tender. Of course, there are also opposing voices. For example, some Chinese bloggers call this type of food suffering meals. That's because the moment you eat it, you might feel like you're going through a survival challenge, and you have to prove your survival by eating this food. I would say that the popularity of white people's food is actually a form of rebellion, a resistance against that 996 work culture. Do you know what 996 means? It's a working schedule of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. In this schedule, you basically have no time to enjoy a proper meal, not even enough time to cook a bowl of instant noodles. But with white people's food, you just need to open the fridge, take out a few vegetables, a few slices of ham, or toast a few slices of bread, then add some sauce, and a luxurious lunch is ready. And you know what? Some people even say that eating this type of food helps them focus more on work and not feel tired in the afternoon. I guess they must be highly concentrated due to hunger. Well, I'm going to prepare my white people's food. Now, today's menu is vegetable salad and sugar-free yogurt. If you have any thoughts on white people's food, feel free to discuss it in the comments below. Just hope you won't make typos due to hunger tilde. China is no longer the United States' top 1 importing country, having been surpassed by Mexico and Canada. This has scared the Americans who drink Starbucks, eat McDonald's, and use Apple phones. Do we have to start eating Taco Bell and poutine now? I imagine it like a global trade competition, like the Olympics, but this time China is the former gold medalist facing some issues in this season's competition. The trade relationship between China and the United States now seems like a tragic version of a breakup contract. We're trying to break up, but still can't resist secretly checking each other's social media. In fact, the United States is no longer as dependent on China, opting for Mexico and Canada instead. It seems that Americans' love for hot sauce and maple syrup can never be underestimated. Now Americans might be thinking, why should I spend hundreds of dollars on a phone when I can buy a whole bucket of maple syrup with that money? Regarding this change, a Twitter user said, China's export statistics to Mexico doubled in the past 2 years. How many "Made in China" labels did the Mexicans stick on and send to the United States? I see, so that's Mexico's secret weapon. They have a superpower to turn "Made in China" into "Made in Mexico." You see, the world of the global economy is like a soap opera. That's why I love it. Every character is playing a role-playing game. Now it seems that China is playing the role of a dumped ex-boyfriend, the United States is a hesitant current girlfriend, and Mexico and Canada are like those third parties who always appear at crucial moments. And ASEAN is like that person silently crushing on China, always waiting for an opportunity. So, dear audience, let's wait and see what kind of drama unfolds in this global economic soap opera. Officials from Southeast Asian countries hope that the United States will take more measures to encourage trade and investment in their countries. But India, Vietnam, and other countries also have deep economic ties with China and do not want to disrupt those relationships by getting too close to the United States. Recently, Indonesian Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati said in an interview, "We don't want to be forced to make a choice." U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's visits to Vietnam and India will highlight a key issue in U.S.-China economic relations: how the United States can push for alternatives to China without further damaging its relationship with the Chinese government. U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley said in Tokyo on the 14th that the United States and its allies should accelerate the provision of weapons to Taiwan to help strengthen its defense capabilities. He stated that Taiwan needs air defense systems and weapons capable of attacking ships from land. Recently, due to the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, U.S. arms sales to Taiwan have been delayed. Taiwan is about to hold the Han Kuang military exercise at the end of the month, a live fire drill, while the Chinese Liberation Army continues to operate near the Taiwan Strait. On the 14th, the Taiwanese military reported that 17 Chinese military aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait the previous day. An anonymous Taiwanese national security official told Reuters that China is expanding its military deterrence operations to create a perception that Taiwan's defense is useless. Amidst the tense situation in the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. 7th Fleet announced that on the 13th, they dispatched AP-8A Poseidon patrol aircraft to fly over the international airspace above the Taiwan Strait, in accordance with international law, to uphold the rights and freedoms of all nations' navigation. In response, Taiwan claimed that China had dispatched 26 military aircraft in response. The Eastern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army criticized the U.S. for publicizing the situation and stated that they would resolutely defend national sovereignty. The Chinese Ministry of National Defense announced that the Russian military would soon send naval and air forces to participate in the Northern Joint 2023 exercise organized by the Northern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army in the central part of the Sea of Japan. The theme of this exercise is to maintain the security of strategic maritime channels. Chinese military expert Song Zhongping stated that holding the exercise in the Sea of Japan would better showcase the exercise's objectives and have strong targeting and practicality. The Intelligence and Security Committee of the UK Parliament's House of Commons, responsible for overseeing government intelligence work, released a recent report on July 13 warning that the UK government's actions in response to Chinese interference have been seriously flawed, and the resources invested are completely insufficient. The report concludes that Beijing's ambition to become a technological and economic superpower on which other countries depend is the biggest risk facing the UK. The report further points out that the Chinese government's intelligence agencies are conducting unchecked activities in the UK, posing a challenge to UK intelligence agencies. The report strongly criticizes the UK government for its inadequate response to the threat posed by China. The German government released its long-awaited China strategy on the 13th, emphasizing the need to engage in systematic competition with China and reduce economic dependency risks. Chancellor Scholz tweeted after the release of the new strategy, stating that their goal is not to decouple from Beijing, but to reduce reliance on China in key areas in the future. He described the new strategy as a response to a China that has already changed and become more expansionist and aggressive. Chancellor Scholz, when speaking about the newly approved China strategy on the 14th, stated that many companies will continue to invest heavily in China, export to China, and purchase goods and services from China. However, he also expects that companies will pay attention to risk management and seize the opportunity to establish supply chains outside of China. Reducing reliance on China and achieving diversification of the industrial chain is crucial. Japan has called on China to view the discharge of Fukushima nuclear wastewater with scientific perspective. On the 14th, Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi met with Chinese diplomat Wang Yi during the ASEAN meeting. Wang Yi requested that Japan handle the issue of nuclear wastewater discharge with caution and not act unilaterally, while Motegi stated that China's claims lacked scientific basis and called on China to respond in a scientific manner. Motegi also expressed strong concern about China's military activities near Japan and military cooperation between China and Russia. The Taiwan-U.S. Congressional Friendship Association delegation from the Legislative Yuan visited Washington, D.C. this week to deepen cooperation between the U.S. and Taiwan. The members of the delegation stated on Friday, July 14, that their visit focused on topics such as the U.S. National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, and the U.S.-Taiwan 21st Century Trade Initiative, and they had frank exchanges with U.S. senators, representatives, and officials from the executive branch. The editor-in-chief of the Bannerman Culture, Fuchai, Li Yanhe, was arrested when he visited mainland China in March this year. The Human Rights Committee of the Taiwan Legislative Yuan issued a statement today, July 14, calling for the release of Fuchai by Chinese authorities and the guarantee of freedom of publication and human rights. The statement points out that Taiwan has gone through the transition from authoritarianism to democracy and therefore deeply understands the value of freedom. Everyone should enjoy the right to freedom, including freedom of speech and freedom of publication. Recently, the Ma Ying-jeou Foundation invited a group of 37 people from Peking University, Tsinghua University, Fudan University, Wuhan University, and Hunan University, led by the former president of Peking University, to Taiwan for a 9-day academic exchange starting on the 15th. In response, the Taiwan Mainland Affairs Council stated on the 13th that the inviting organization, based on the requirements of the Taiwan Immigration Agency's Joint Review Committee, stated that the visiting group will not engage in activities inconsistent with the purpose of the permit, such as political activities, during their stay in Taiwan. July 13 marked the 6th anniversary of the death of Chinese Nobel Peace Prize laureate Liu Xiaobo. On that day, a memorial service for Liu Xiaobo was held at the June 4 Memorial Museum. That evening, the Chinese Human Rights, PEN America, and Chinese PEN held a candlelight vigil in front of a bench in Central Park, New York, with a plaque containing quotes from Liu Xiaobo. During the event, Yang Zili, one of the founders of the Beijing New Youth Society, described how Liu Xiaobo had advocated for freedom of speech throughout his life. Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer BYD announced its performance forecast for the first half of 2023 on Friday, July 14. The announcement shows that BYD achieved a net profit attributable to shareholders of listed companies of RMB 10.5 billion to RMB 11.7 billion, a year-on-year increase of 192.05% to 225.43%. This marks the second consecutive year that BYD has maintained a growth rate of around double. After experiencing significant losses during the COVID-19 pandemic, China's three major airlines are expected to significantly reduce their losses in the first half of this year. In the first quarter of this year, Air China, China Eastern Airlines, and China Southern Airlines reported net losses of RMB 2.926 billion, RMB 3.803 billion, and RMB 1.898 billion, respectively. These losses have significantly narrowed by nearly 70%, over 50%, and nearly 60% compared to the same period last year, respectively. IMAX has proposed to privatize its Chinese subsidiary listed in Hong Kong. The large-screen cinema operator is seeking to privatize IMAX China Holding with an estimated valuation of $124 million. According to the announcement, privatizing IMAX China could save the parent company approximately $2 million in costs annually and immediately increase profits. IMAX has proposed to acquire IMAX China shares at 10 Hong Kong dollars per share. At least two holders of Chinese real estate developer Greentown Group's US dollar bonds stated that as of the morning of the 14th, Greentown had not made the interest payment due on the 13th, intensifying concerns about Greentown's debt. Some media outlets have commented that while Greentown has not experienced repayment issues like other real estate companies, it remains an important target of concern regarding debt in the real estate industry. Hello everyone, I'm your news anchor, Ya Li. We provide a one-stop service for China's news here every day. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, we will read and respond to everyone's comments diligently. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode, take care everyone.